So you're thinking about moving to the Lansing, Michigan area, and you're wondering what are some of the things that make the area unique? What are some of the things that I might possibly need to know? Well, in this episode, I'm gonna share with you just a bunch of tips, a bunch of things that are gonna be helpful for you to know that might save you a lot of headache. In the long run, I'm gonna be sharing some of my own personal experiences that I've had where I had to learn the hard way. And if you stay tuned until the very end, I'm gonna share with you something that happens each and every year on your birthday that you're just gonna love. Actually, a lot of people really don't like it, but hey, it's something that happens every year on your birthday that you will never forget. So I've got a lot to cover right here on this list. So we're gonna dive right in and we're gonna get started with this episode of Lansing, Michigan Life right now. Hey everybody, Troy Seifert here with the Capital Area Real Estate Specialist here in the greater Lansing, Michigan area. And I get phone calls all the time from people who are just like you watching this channel, looking to move to the Lansing area. So if you're looking to buy a house, or even if you're looking to sell a house and you're watching this channel, please feel free to reach out to me, call, text, email me, or feel free to schedule a Zoom call. I would love to be able to talk with you, meet with you, even see you face to face on a Zoom and kind of talk about your real estate goals. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, also ring the bell for any notifications so that you can be immediately notified when we drop a new episode of Lansing, Michigan Life, which it's happening every single week that we're dropping one, once or twice a week. So if you want to be the first to be notified, please subscribe. Also, if you have any questions on anything I talk about here, feel free to comment. I would love to interact with you that way too. So I've got a lot to cover here today about things to know about Lansing, Michigan. And before I get into this, I do want to let you know, I am going to be doing a video in a couple weeks that's going to talk about the definite cons of Lansing, Michigan. And so rather than beat a dead horse and say the same thing over and over and over again, I wanted to do some more unique things. So there's going to be some things missing on this list that you're probably anticipating that, be like, well, why didn't he mention this? Well, that's going to be in a couple weeks. But I promise you with these tips that are here, they are things that people who live here in this area will all go, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yes, that's right. Oh yes, that's right. And you're gonna find these things really helpful. It's just, when I talk about a cons list, like a top 5 cons of living in Lansing, these things probably wouldn't make the list, but these things would still be really helpful to know. So the first thing for you to know when living in Lansing, Michigan, a very helpful thing for you to know is that Lansing is the capital of Michigan. Now, for some of you who know your geography and you did so well in school, you're gonna think to yourself, man, well, I knew that, duh. But you'd be surprised how many people do not know that Lansing is the capital of Michigan. And actually, we're located right in the south central part of the state. So we're right in the middle of everything. And to be quite honest, for those of you who are like, well, I knew this, I want you to be aware that there's a lot of people that really don't know that Lansing is the capital. I had a talk with somebody who moved here from California. They're going to Michigan State grad school to be a doctor. And he said when coming here, he assumed that the capital was Detroit. And and I said, that's hilarious, because I'm getting ready to talk to people on a video about that Lansing's the capital. And maybe I just assumed that a lot of people would know that, but honestly, the amount of people that don't know about Lansing being the capital, it's amazing. So just to let you know, Lansing is the capital of Michigan. It's located in the center of the state. And if you want to know a little bit about the history, feel free to look at my very first video that I made. I was going around downtown Lansing and I talked about the history of Lansing, just so you can find out how Lansing became the capital, because it's a little crazy how it did. It was kind of by accident. Hey, so number 2, another thing for you to know, you're going to hear this phrase. Someone's going to say, go green, and you're going to go, okay, if you have no idea what that means, okay? So when I say go green, in response, you need to say, go white, because you are in Spartan territory here in Lansing, because East Lansing's right beside Lansing, Michigan. That's where Michigan State University is. It's a Big Ten. Why did I say top 10? Big Ten university here in the Lansing area, more specifically East Lansing, Michigan. And close to 40, 50,000 students go to that university. It's a huge chunk of people that go there. And so you're gonna hear, especially on game day, football season days, someone's gonna say, go green. So then you can feel like you can blend in and you can say, go white. Okay, so a little tidbit for you to know right there. Number 3, I want you to know, and if you've been watching some of my other videos, you've been seeing one of the cities spelled Okemos. And then there's another city that looks like Charlotte, because you would think of like, you know, Charlotte, North Carolina, like that's how it's pronounced, right? But when you see that city, Okemos, it's not Okemos, I hear that all the time. It is Okemos. So learn how to say Okemos when you come to this area so that you look like you're not a newbie when you come here. And then also learn how to say Charlotte, say it as Charlotte. Because there is a city in the southwestern part of Lansing, it's a suburb, known as Charlotte, but it's spelled just like Charlotte. I'm not the person who made the rules, it's whoever developed that city, okay? So don't shoot the messenger when I tell you like that makes absolutely no sense, okay? I get it, I understand, but it's Okemos and Charlotte. Those are the 2 things I hear people mispronounce all the time. So for you to not come across as a newbie in this area, I would highly recommend just being familiar with those 2 terms. Next thing, only in Michigan do you see people using their hand as a map. So when I first told you that Lansing was the capital of Michigan, I had to keep my hands down to not show you my hand as a map for where Lansing was located, because I said it's in the center, because I knew I was coming to this point next. So Lansing is the capital of Michigan, and it's located right here, right in the center of the state. So people will say to, you know, they'll mention a city, like they'll say, oh, where's Grand Rapids, okay? So Grand Rapids, oh, it's right over here. Oh, where's Muskegon? Oh, right over here. Oh, where's Mackinac Island? Oh, it's up here, it's up north. Okay, because you've got, like, when you look at my hand like this and you look at Michigan on the map, on the United States map, you can very easily just make a map like this and just kind of show people where things are. You also have the Upper Peninsula, so I don't want to forget that. So some people do this as well. I don't want to forget about the people that live in the Upper Peninsula, because that is also included. But if you're looking to, okay, you know, just taking out the UP and just making the, I don't know what to call it, like Michigan proper, you know, or whatever, like this is what you're gonna use. So you're gonna see people using this. So it's your right hand that you're gonna use, and it can be a very effective thing to use as a map. So that's another thing that you will find here in Michigan, and especially in the Lansing area. People do it all the time. Next thing, people here like to say the phrase, it's Michigan, when referring to weather, okay? Like, I'll have a day here where it is 30 degrees. And then in the morning, when I wake up, it's 30 degrees. Then all of a sudden, as the day goes on, it becomes 70 degrees, like around noon. Then, as the afternoon goes on, it rains. And then, as the afternoon, like when you go later in the afternoon, the sun comes out. And then the temperature goes down again. You feel like you have experienced 3 different seasons all in one day. And so what people say in those circumstances is they say, oh, well, it's Michigan. Like, that's just the way it is. It's Michigan, it's unpredictable. Like, that's what they mean. So you're gonna hear people say that a lot, and that's what they mean. Like, the weather here is unpredictable. Even here, like right now, it's fall time here in Lansing area. So I wake up, it's 30 degrees. As the day goes on, I have to start shedding some layers because I'm wearing like a sweatshirt in the morning. Then all of a sudden, it's hot. It's like 60, 65 degrees. And then I maybe go to the DeWitt Panther football game, because that's the school district that we're a part of. Go there, it's freezing. I have to wear a coat. It's so cold. So especially in the fall time or in the springtime, when Mother Nature can't make up its mind as to what season it is, that's just a phrase that people say. So another helpful thing for you to know. The next thing, this is like a random thing, but I think it's helpful for people to know. The city of Lansing especially has great tasting tap water. I don't think a lot of people know this, and I bring this up because I had heard this 15, 16 years ago when I first moved to the area, that someone gave me this fact who worked at the Lansing Board of Water and Light, who they're the people that do the water here in our area, said that they've had worldwide taste tests, and Lansing, Michigan water is usually up at the top for best tasting. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Well, no, like, it's true. Like, back in 2012, 2011, they were ranked in the top 5, okay, in the top 5 best tasting water in the world, okay? So I've had really horrible tasting tap water, city water in Orlando when I go to Disney World. I have had, you know, like when you go to a city, you can just taste that, oh, like this, it just doesn't taste good. Lansing, honestly, like you don't need to have bottled water here. I feel like it's great tasting tap water, but you have to live in the city of Lansing for that, or be in an area where Board of Water and Light does service. So Watertown Township in DeWitt, they use Board of Water and Light. Delta Township in Michigan, the west side, also uses Board of Water and Light. So you could be in an area that still incorporates Board of Water and Light, but they use the township to be able to pay for water and sewer. So just a little random fact for you to know that the tap water here is actually really good in the city of Lansing and with Board of Water and Light. The next thing I will tell you to be aware of is that there's gonna be a higher cost for car maintenance in Michigan. And a lot of that has to do with the weather, okay? Because they put salt on the roads, and when it snows, that salt's gonna get into the undercarriage of the car, it's gonna start rusting. But another thing too is that the roads, your tires can get beat up, you know, extremely bad, you know, just because you're going on a pothole. And in Lansing, the way I've heard it talked about is that in the wintertime, especially like when the ground freezes, all of a sudden it thaws out, it can start having cracks in the roads, and then settlement happens, and then the roads just become horrible to drive on. So again, the car maintenance, like, I mean, there are some people that buy, you know, that drive really expensive cars here, but there are some people that just don't, just because of how much maintenance it is due to the salt on the roads and due to the amount of potholes that can be on the roads depending on where you're traveling, especially more so in the city of Lansing. So just be aware of that. Some people get the car wash memberships where you can pay monthly for that. And so I would encourage you to keep up with the car washes on your car. That'll help limit some of the rust that you might get on your car, so that can help a little bit. Another thing another tip for you to be aware of. So I love coffee. Coffee shops are huge around the nation, right? Starbucks is the premier one nationwide. But here in Lansing, Big B is bigger than Starbucks. And there are way more Big Bs in the greater Lansing area than there are Starbucks. Now, I prefer Starbucks because I like to use the mobile app, and I like to save time with that. Big B doesn't quite have that capability quite yet, doesn't have, and maybe eventually they will. But there are some of the Big Bs that have drive-thrus, that's nice to have, but a lot of them can be just little shops where you have to walk in to be able to get your coffee. But Big B as well, they do offer a lot of promotions. They offer a lot of coupons where it can be buy one, get one free, or $1 off your drinks. I find that they're a little bit more expensive than Starbucks if you were to pay full price. But if you use the buy one, get one, and you have somebody else that gets coffee, I mean, that can save you, you know, quite a bit of money. A lot of people say about Big B too, that it's not as bitter as Starbucks. I would tend to agree with that. It's a little bit sweeter. They also do have like more variety in drinks. They have caramel apple cider in the fall. I love being able to get that. They have seasonal drinks that they switch, which Starbucks does too. And they also have some bakery items. Like I feel Starbucks might be a little bit more strong in the bakery department and having different foods. But Big B, it's all throughout Michigan, so it's not like it's just a local. I mean, there are plenty of local coffee shops like Blue Owl Coffee and Foster's Coffee, and they have local coffee shops here if you're not about, you know, hey, I don't care about Starbucks or even Big B because it just seems like it's a franchise and isn't as, you know, something I want to support. That's fine too. You'll have opportunities like that in Lansing, but Big B is bigger than Starbucks, and it's been here in the area, I believe, for close to 25 to 30 years is when it started. So they continue to try to develop franchises, and so you'll see a lot more Big Bs than you will Starbucks. I'm not saying Starbucks isn't popular here, it is, but you'll see more Big Bs than Starbucks. Speaking of places that are more popular, number 9, there's a place called Meijer. It's spelled M-E-I-J-E-R. Meijer, it's like Target, it's like Walmart, it's open more in the Midwest, but a lot of its roots are in Michigan. So Meijer is more popular than Target or Walmart in Lansing, okay? There are, I believe, 3 Targets within the greater Lansing area. actually 4 because they built the one in downtown East Lansing and it's a smaller one. So 4 Targets, and there are 3 Walmarts. One of the Walmarts is a Walmart Supercenter, but then every single city or suburb, major suburb of Lansing seems to have its own Meijer. Some of them even have 2. And the Meijers, I tell you, like they just become more packed. Part of it is like, you know, it still has the same layout. It has a grocery store in it, like what a super Walmart would. Target really doesn't have the grocery department, but it's more of a one-stop shop for people. Like it has everything there. I find that the prices probably aren't as cheap as Walmart, but they do have a loyalty rewards program called M-Perks that is very popular that people use. They use it on their app. You can clip digital coupons. You can use points for future purchases to save money. So in the end, maybe it evens out, but people say their grocery department, especially because it's a one-stop shop and they can do all their shopping in just one spot. People say that their grocery department, where their produce is way better than any of those other, like than Walmart would be, or even Aldi, even some of the other grocery stores. They say it's pretty good. So I go to Meijer sometimes, but there's some people that, you know, because it's a huge thing in Michigan, people just love to be able to go to that. So Meijer is a bigger deal here than what Target or Walmart would be. Again, like there are Targets and Walmarts and there are people that go to those, but Meijer is a bigger deal here, in my opinion. Number 10, I encourage you to get some vitamin D in the colder winter months. Okay, it gets colder here, your mood is going to change a little bit. So this is more of like a tip, like a life coach tip for you. You know, I'm a realtor, I wear all these different hats, I'm gonna be your life coach, right? But I really encourage you when you move here to Michigan, because people can say, you know, oh, I get down and I, you know, just get sad when it becomes winter because it's colder and I stay more indoors and I'm not outside as much and the sun doesn't come out. But I will tell you, taking vitamin D, taking some sort of supplement will help your mood. Okay, even my doctor has recommended it to me. She said I have a vitamin D deficiency, and you know, I'm somebody that can sometimes, when the seasons change, I can go through like a seasonal depression. Like, and maybe for some of you, like that's something that you have to go through as well too, and you're kind of concerned about that, right? So I would say get some vitamin D first of all. There could be other supplements you can get, but investing in vitamin D can definitely get rid of that deficiency that's in your body, because a lot of people in Michigan do have that. So I'm not a doctor, and that's the only medical advice I will give you on here, but it has helped me. So I just wanted to speak from life experience. Okay, number 11, you pay a 1% income tax in the city of Lansing and the city of East Lansing, the taxing authority township. So like your house has to be in the city of Lansing or city of East Lansing. Not just because it says Lansing doesn't mean you have to pay it. You have to be in that taxing township, which are, you know, as an agent, we'd be able to tell you what taxing authority you're in. And then there's also a state income tax of 4.25% that will get taken out of your paycheck every single time. I know that there are some states that don't have the state income tax. Well, woohoo, Michigan has state income tax. With the 1% income tax in the city of Lansing, I had to learn this the hard way. The other thing I'll talk about too is that you do have a 0.5% if you do work in the city of Lansing, like if you work for the state or if you worked for MSU, you do have a 0.5% income tax that you have to pay, okay? So that I did, before I get into my story, I wanted to state that. So I had to learn about the 1% income tax in the city of Lansing. I had to learn it the hard way. When I first moved here, I didn't know anything about the rules. So that's why I'm making this video, so that you don't make the same mistakes I did. And when I moved here, I worked in DeWitt. And DeWitt, a lot of the people who I worked with didn't live in the city of Lansing. And when I when I rented here, I rented an apartment, a townhome, and because I lived there, I was supposed to be charged a 1% income tax, but I never told my employer that. So you can kind of see where this is headed and going. So let's fast forward 2-3 years down the road. All of a sudden, in the house I moved into the city of Lansing, I get this notice. It's a pink letter from the city of Lansing saying, you have not paid your city income tax, and here's a bill, here's your penalty, this is how much you owe. And I said to the city, you know, I contacted them and I said, look, like I had no idea. I'm just, like, can we at least take the interest away? And would you believe the city had no grace in this, and they said, no, like you have to pay it. So I learned then that I need to take 1% of my income tax, pay it to the city of Lansing if I was going to continue to live there, which I did while I worked there. So I did end up, but I had to pay money to the city of Lansing because, and pay the penalties because I wasn't aware of it. So when you do move here, let your employer know, especially if your employer is not in the city of Lansing or city of East Lansing, let them be aware that you have to pay that income tax, okay? So you don't learn the hard way, you don't have to pay the penalties. Number 12, the DMV, some of you might, when you go and you move to a state, you have to kind of change your car registrations, your driver's licenses, okay? A lot of people call that the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, right? So in Michigan, that is known as the Secretary of State. So when you move here, don't Google DMV in Michigan because you're not really gonna get anywhere. I mean, you might be able to get somebody saying the DMV is known as Secretary of State. But so the Secretary of State in all of Michigan, but especially in Lansing, it is a governmental position that there's somebody in the government that they deal with this aspect of cars and driver's licenses and car registrations. So just wanted you to be aware, Secretary of State is what it's known as here in the city of Lansing. There's several branches that are out there, but I know it's a kind of unique name for something like this, but it's just the way it is here. And finally, the last thing, because I know earlier in the video I said every single birthday that you have, you get this amazing gift, and you're just absolutely gonna love it. So I'm gonna sing you a song that's gonna help you remember this each and every year, and this is how it goes. Happy birthday to you, your car registration is due. Yes, your car registration is due every single birthday. So when you go to that Secretary of State and get all your tags and everything, they will tell you, when do you want your car registration to be due if you're married, because then you can have it on one of the spouse's birthdays. But if you're single or you're not married, that every single day or every single birthday, that's when your car registration is due. Now you can decide to pay it earlier than your birthday, but your due date is going to be on your birthday. And they always joke around to say, oh, it's the best birthday present. You get to pay your car registration each and every year. So that's something that's just kind of unique to Michigan for you to be aware of, that when it's your birthday, you can have a great time celebrating, but you better make sure to renew your tags, renew your license, because it's going to be due by then as well too, if it's 4 or 5 years down the road. But renew those car registration tags because you don't want to get pulled over and have to get a ticket for that. So that wraps up everything here, and I appreciate you sticking around and listening to all these tips. Hopefully these were helpful and beneficial to you. Like I said, in a couple weeks, I'm gonna have a video about the major cons of living in Lansing, Michigan. I think that will be more helpful, and those things that you're thinking, well, why didn't this make the list? Well, it'll probably be in the next video. So if you liked what you saw, again, I encourage you to like, subscribe, also ring the bell for any notifications so that you can be the first to be notified, especially when that new episode drops of Cons of Living in Lansing, that you can be notified for that. And also, just for real estate, I want to be there to be able to help you out and be able to guide you through buying something here. It can be a scary thing to relocate from somewhere else. It can be a scary thing just to buy a house in general, whether it's your first time buying, whether it's your 10th time buying, whether you're looking to buy or sell here in 6 days, 60 days, or 6 months. I would love to be able to help you out, and please call, text, email, or schedule a Zoom with me, and I'll be the person to be able to reach out, find out what you're looking for and how I can best help you. So again, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, make it a great day.